You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
Good evening. You're listening to Spiritual Support with Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network and YouTube Live. As usual, I'm going to start tonight with some words of wisdom, and they are this. Wise persons seek for the cause of their errors in themselves. Fools, excusing themselves, seek for it in others. Some wise words. Yes, when things don't go right, we need to think about how we contributed to it and not just blame it on somebody else. And here is my guest tonight, Jacob Hartwick, and we're going to be talking about Planetary Ascension.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sue. It's a pleasure to be here, and that is a very current topic right now. And I think the first thing we ought to try to do is what does that exactly mean? And you can look at the world outside right now, and the current state of affairs is rather chaotic, is because a lot of the old systems of belief that govern the planet are being rooted out. They're being shaken loose. A lot of what they call low vibes or the distorted anger, hatred, separation, which is fear-based. And we fear when you get into love, we know we're all connected. The frequencies are rising, and both the Schumann resonance of the planet, people who do energy work and are empaths and are sensitive, we can feel the energies rising. Mm-hmm. They're getting higher frequencies, and we're used to it. And we're expecting it. Most people who are not aware, not awakened, aren't, so they're having some problems. But we're here to help them and remove some blockages and help, because anybody can rise.
Right. I have to ask you a question. Now, where are the energies coming from? Are they coming from outer space in or from the earth up?
Well, the best way to look at it, we're in a field of energy. The whole universe is a big field of energy, and the planetary field, we're all part of that. There's no separation. We may perceive ourselves separate, but we're in the field, and we can do healings at long distance just by opening up the energies. It's like quantum entanglement with Einstein would talk about. But a lot of what's happening right now, the energies are coming from the great central sun, which is at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It's also coming through the planet, through the sun, and into the planet, connecting it, and it's syncing the frequencies, because here on Earth, we've been out of sync with the rest of the galaxy and the universe for some time. We're moving back into that sync, and we're speeding up a little bit. A fair amount, when you talk about energies, but the planet is Mother Earth, Gaia. Mm-hmm. She is, you can tell by the Schumann resonance spiking, she's raising up. We're doing something that's never been done before. We're raising the planet in frequency with the population intact on the surface. Now, some people are going to have a tough time. I'm not a doomsayer. I'm like with Mom. Mom says no one's left behind. She's very protective, and you can feel those energies with the divine feminine has returned, and she's very strong. She's very protective of her children, but that's all of her children. There's more to it than just the human. We have to understand we're part of the whole system with the animals, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the great crystal grids that are down below the surface of the planet that used to be part of the ancient Earth, the crystal. And that's where you get into what the Christ consciousness is. It's the crystalline consciousness, very ancient.
Crystalline consciousness. I mean, I know that we heard that a lot of these crystals were in Atlantis and places like that. And I know we've recently seen some very large crystals at the Casey Center.
They were huge.
Beautiful crystals, yeah.
A lot of this goes back all the way back to Lemuria and that civilizations and very advanced civilizations have been on this earth long before our history books talk about it, with Sumer and the Mesopotamian Valley and the Sumerians.
Right.
It goes back hundreds of millions of years. This is not something new, and that's what we're awakening to. This is the Great Awakening. And what it is, people think, well, we're going to another planet, and then and I said, well, the whole system is rising up, and that's what the ascension means. We still have our physical Earth, but it's going to change. It'll be similar, but it'll be different. Now, other people that, you call them not wanting that, they want to go and hang on to the old ways of doing things, they're going to have a hard time. So it's better to kind of release any of the belief systems we've been taught, whether they're structures from religion or government and the medical industry. Everything is kind of coming apart right now because we've been under a very controlled environment. And that is what the liberation and the freedom of the human species is.
So you see this as a freeing of people, an opportunity for people to get out of the box and start to do new and more different things.
We're born and raised that here you go to school, you learn these things, learn a trade, go get a job, get married, have kids, save for your retirement, work very hard so you can make money, and then, listen to your doctors, elect the right officials that can, and, it's all where we're sovereign beings. We don't need someone to tell us how to live, how to create in a very loving, effective way that benefits everyone. It's your memories come back. I always like how the Gnostics said, it's losing your forgetfulness. And these memories, when we incarnate here, we all get a memory wipe. We get amnesia. So when these things start waking up and you start realizing that we're very powerful co-creators, and the idea is we find that divine spark, the goddess spark within us.
Right.
And we reconnect with that, and you become a very powerful person. And as we're moving into the fifth dimension, things will manifest very quickly. I noticed one thing that people think, well, I pray for things and stuff like that, and nothing seems to happen. I said, if you're praying, asking for something, you're basically telling the field that it's not there.
Right.
So you got to imagine in yourself, visualize it, and just say, it's here. I can feel it. I know what that's like. And you pray. There's a lot of little ancient things that people have forgotten, and how to set the intention correctly. And with prayer, there's a lot of things in Aramaic that Jesus taught in the Gospel of Thomas. And this information is coming out now on how to properly do it. And these things will manifest as long as you're doing it with the best intention.
Right. No, because I know intention is always the key to everything.
Too many people have their own agenda. I said, well, geez, I need a new Mercedes or something like that. And that's not really what this is all about.
No, it's not an intention for material things. It's an intention for us to have a better social order.
Precisely. That's what the big thing going on with the Ascension is, a whole change of this dynamic from countries, and you can basically be blunt about it, they're dictators. We're giving our power away to elected leaders that are not serving our best interests.
And hold that thought for a moment, because when we come back, we'll continue this conversation, but we need to take a break.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
We're back here live on Spiritual Support with Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network and YouTube Live. I'm here with Jacob Hartwick, and we're talking about intention and how important it is to set intention. But the intention shouldn't just be for like a material thing like a Mercedes.
Well, a lot of people set intentions. Well, I want to have a companion, a spouse, and I want her to look like this, and I want her to believe this. They set all these parameters for it, and you really shouldn't, because we're not alone. No one's separated. You have your greater self, your divine self, your oversoul, higher self. People talk about source. Energy, we've never been disconnected there. We perceive that until you waken up and realize that we're connected. So you set the intention in a more general sense for the greater or highest good for you, because you may not see everything, and it knows what you need or want and desire, but it's going to give it to you what is going to be best for you, for your growth and your development and your life and your happiness, your joy. So that's really important. The intention is for the greatest good. And you're trying to set that without putting specifics, and not to have specific expectations. That's very important.
Yeah. You just have to ask for the highest and the best.
Highest and the best.
That's what we do as mediums. We always ask for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the other thing I ask for sometimes when I'm doing a public setting is to ask them to give messages for the people who need it the most.
Exactly. And, sometimes we tend to be a little bit egoic and self-centered. Well, I want this. And there's a lot of unbalance in the world. And so in my intentions and work is very collective in nature. Mm-hmm. You can get really deep into it and into connecting. And in the Gnostic, it was always about a lot of people channel. You go into a state of communion, you're directly connected. So you've set that intention for the highest, greatest good of all involved. And so you put that and you work on that, and you worry about yourself later. You do your mission work, or whatever you want to call it, and work for this, the greatest good for we had a lot of problems here that we got to get through, and they're done. The nice thing about it, it's done. We are getting the best possible outcome, and it's beautiful. I could feel it. Oh man, it's beautiful.
You mean, so you said before, it's here now?
It takes a little while to manifest in the 3D, but I know, I can feel it, because that's how you connect, that it's already happened. It's already taken place. We're just taking a little for us to catch up, but maintaining that very positive, knowing that it's happened, it's going to come out in the best way possible is very reassuring. And I keep that in a foundation level. You can feel it, though. You can feel it in your heart.
So what should be the intention if people want to help this along? What should be our intention?
Highest and greatest good for a new earth and out of this old system of controlling and really taking your own power back. And when you go inward, you connect to your higher self, your divine spark within. That's what you don't need a church, a book, or an intermediary to do it for you. You can go inside yourself and feel it. You can feel when you're allowing those energies, when people go into a meditative state, is to sit there and not always be looking up or thinking outside of you. Think that it's already inside you. Think that it's there. And then you'll feel it. And when that happens, you say, oh. And, a lot of times it can come as a voice, but most of the time it'll come in as a feeling. When you really start connecting to what we call God, you're not talking to God, because when that comes through, you're getting it in imagery, symbols. In my journey, it was very much like that. I had no voices. I could feel them. I could sense them there, and things would just occur naturally. And that's really, don't grasp at this. Don't say, well, I need to know this. No. Let it come to you.
That's what we keep telling people who are developing their extrasensory perceptions, is that it unfolds.
Yes.
And you just have to let it unfold, and you can't say, okay, this month I want to do clairvoyance, and next month I want to do clairvoyance. It doesn't work that way.
A lot of times there's a lot of people talk about, they see it in a very linear fashion, but it is much more of a spiral and loops. And sometimes people say, well, I thought I learned this lesson, and they're coming back around. He says, it's appearing again. I says, well, maybe there's some aspect of it you haven't quite done. Unfortunately, there is a repetitive nature to this matrix we're in. I've noticed that. I'm going, what? And, you saw that we had a matrix or consciousness dealing with artificial intelligence, off-planet intelligence. A lot of that's not necessarily physical, it's consciousness. And it's affecting us and it's influencing us because there were certain energies that do not want us to be free. They like us in this because they literally feed off those energies of, despair and sorrow and things like that. It sounds rather disturbing, but every time you look around, you see the same thing again and over again, and you realize, well, if it shows up again and again, the same thing, then it's probably true. So
that makes a lot of sense, is that it would be. But there's also some people that feed off of other people's energies.
The thing about that, you see that, and you see a lot of distorted, they get angry and they're feeding off your energy. You call them narcissistic or even vampiric. Because the one thing is not to get angry at them. Don't react. Step back. Because I always say this, there's somebody pulling their strings. There's somebody influencing them, because we all have that. I always like to make a metaphor. It says, people use that like we're like a biological computer. I said the heart is the power supply. And I says the brain is like the CPU. And I says, but who's at the keyboard?
Good question.
And we've realized there's somebody up there, because I've experienced it, and I've seen that in others, that there's somebody that's influencing their actions, their thoughts, maybe not in a total mind control. Sometimes they are. They're totally mind controlled by some being other there. There's a lot of familiarities with the reptilian consciousness and other grays and all that kind of thing. But they're departing this world in a hurry.
Okay, we'll come back and we'll talk more about those after we take this break.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Spiritual Support with Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network. I'm here with Jacob Hartwick, and we were talking about control.
Control.
Yeah.
I'm going to be blunt about it. When you see so many movies, especially when you get into sci-fi fantasy, I says, you don't look at them as a exact, this is what's happening, but in the theme of the movies, the underlying themes of them tend to be quite accurate to what we're experiencing. And like the Matrix movie, we've got a system of controlling thought patterns, belief systems established about financial system, governmental, societal, religious, political, and realizing that, we've given our power away, that we're listening to everyone else, whether it's medical doctors or everything, telling us what we need to do. Here's another pill for your anxiety.
Yeah.
And I like to say this, you follow the money, and you look at what people use the term big pharma. They don't want you to be healthy. That's true. They make their money by you.
It's an interesting thought. Yeah, I mean, their money's made by people being sick.
Exactly. Now, this is a part of the great thing about you've learned and unfolded these skills, been gifted with them, is healing and energy.
Right.
You can use energy waves, sound, different healing. We don't need chemicals. We don't need pills to heal us. Your body starts to be, it's amazing bodies. They will operate in a very high level, very healthy way. It knows what to do if you remove the toxins and the chemicals out of it, because it's not meant to operate that way. It's a quantum body. It operates connected with our energy system, and you can sit there and touch. You can just sit there, long distance healing.
It works.
You're connected through the field. I've done this all the time. I can feel the energies coming across, you're looking at a person on the screen because we're all interconnected in this field. It's an amazing thing.
Oh, yeah. We've done that a lot with mediumship. We have a room. People are all over the globe.
Yeah.
And we're giving messages and getting readings, and the energies are all there. And the energies, I think, are also collecting in Zoom.
Yeah. Well, it's the beautiful thing about it. That's where you understand the oneness, that we're all interconnected by that field of energy. It powers these bodies. It goes through our bodies. It's the electromagnetic nervous system, how the brain operates on a very minute level, how the heart operates. It's got its own neural system. It knows what the body does. It knows things that we can't even imagine. And this information will come to you, whatever you need for the moment, by really getting in alignment with the field and Mother Earth and everything. It's remembering what we used to be when we were divine beings walking the earth, and until this point where we're not acting very much like divine beings. But it's going to be fine. I'm an optimist.
No, I think I think things are going to work out. I agree with you too. I'm being optimistic about it, and I see this as a time for change.
It is time for change, and that's what people talk about. Unfortunately, through a lot of the established Orthodox religious systems, people have a tendency, the apocalypse, the world's coming to an end. I say, yeah, it's coming to an end as you know it. We're going through an ascension. We're going through a shift. Everything is changing. People say, well, I'm comfortable with where I am, and what you know, people have a lot of fear about the unknown.
Yeah.
This is something I know. Even if I'm in a suffering condition, I can handle this. I said, don't fear. That is the biggest adversary you could possibly have. Don't fear the unknown, because I know this. Since I've connected very closely with the divine feminine energies, you know that. You know these energies, and they're very protective. They love you. You can feel the love inside, and it's just amazing. And knowing these things, that you're protected. You're safe. Yeah. There's nothing going to come to harm you, and we're just going someplace better. It takes a little getting used to. That's okay. You will, and once you do, you say, oh man, I'm glad I did this. You just have to buckle down. Sometimes buckle your seatbelts. It's a little bit of a bumpy ride, but keep the faith and trust that there is a benevolent plan in place, and we're going to be good. We're going to just, you got to sit there and just trust that.
Yeah, well, I just keep saying that if everybody thought positive thoughts, the world would be totally different.
That's true. I would say in this dynamic, we've had such a long term of suppression, especially of the divine feminine energies on this planet, that it's really caused a serious imbalance. We're out of sync. We're not in the proper timing, timing cycles of the universe. That's why you see the planet shifting and speeding up in more to that 28-day cycle. It's aligned much more with the moon. Mm-hmm. Versus our created of a 12-month cycle. It goes basically to 13 months. But it's a faster system. It's a love-based system of more egalitarian. Oh, okay. And there's plenty of hidden suppressed technologies that it's been kept from us. The technologies are there. Tesla's technology with the towers and having a wireless electric around the globe tapped into the planet, that's already there. Now they're holding that back. There's a lot of very plasmic technologies how you can do that.
Yeah, but I know people that are working with those towers on the spirit realm. Yeah. So he's doing it in a spiritual way, and he's allowing people to get messages from their loved ones on the spirit side of life.
Now, with the test, that's a scalar energy, is scalar waves. Basically, the same thing. They're trying to give it a different name, but it's the same thing that works with the crystals and the ancient Lemurian crystal temples, healing temples. That energy comes through and aligns with your symptoms, heals you. It can actually reverse aging. You can create your own temples, but these things with med beds, we understand how they're already available. They work on that very plasmic energy. It's a beautiful energy, and we're going to be a beautiful future. This is amazing, because there's going to be a lot of innovation. There's nothing wrong per se with technology, because a lot of it can do things that would require us to expend a lot of energy, especially repetitive things that you don't have to do it like that. Electromagnetic vehicles that run through that same energy. You're not using any more fossil fuels, which is not a good thing. We've upset the ecology on this planet very badly. Pollution, all these other things, because we see ourselves separate. We acting in a very childish way of not understanding that.
Yeah, hold that, because I had a question about that, but we need to take another quick break. So we're going to do that right now.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network.
We're back live on Spiritual Support with Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network. And I'm here with Jacob Hartwick. And the question that's come up now is, what about all of these environmental changes that are going on? How does that relate to these new energies?
I would say this: there's many technologies that have been suppressed or hidden from us that can really, really help clean up the planet in a hurry. But it's really important for us to be self-responsible and for God's sakes, pick up your trash. But plastics, we're seeing the effects of our pollution and our overuse of fossil fuels, cutting down the trees, because the carbon base of this carbon-based system is out of balance. Right. Too much carbon going into the water and air, offsetting, and we're cutting more trees. The system's getting out of balance. And the problem with a lot of we can see the effects in the ocean. We can see very distorted from fertilizers creating very toxic algae blooms, and where you get a massive die-off of fishes and everything. And we see the very dramatic extreme weather conditions on the planet, the flooding. And I like to say this, it says, Mother Earth's scolding us. You got to remember that we don't own the earth. We are part of her. Right. And that's really the way to look at it. We're part of the system. We belong to the earth. It doesn't belong to us. And that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that
and
is.
It's just having the respect. And when you do that, I can go out there, I can feel the energies of the planet, just sitting allowing, you can feel them, and going by the water energies, oh my goodness. And it's such a comforting. That's why people say get into nature. When you can get into nature and still be the energies, you can really feel the love. It really feels very an intimate feeling, like they know you. And that gives you a sense of oneness with creation, of life itself. That is absolutely the most amazing feeling.
No, that's very true. And I'm thinking about like hurricanes are getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, because I just getting a place in Virginia Beach, and Edgar Casey said that place wasn't going to be affected that much.
Well, it's amazing what happened in New England and the flooding, but the severe flooding that people are experiencing, tornadoes and everything. Part of that, if I'm not a conspiracy theorist in that way, I'm a truth seeker. And sometimes you hear enough, and then you can ask yourself, and it'll give you an affirmative whether that's a truth or not. Exactly. Then it's not a conspiracy. It could be a conspiracy, but it's not a theory anymore. Let's put it that way. Where HAARP was designed to affect the upper ionosphere and the weather patterns on the planet, and they say that there's a lot of that's being used to add to the increase the destructive nature. But the severity of the storms comes in at a stronger level now, because we've got to face facts. People say science rules the earth. I said nature rules this planet. And if you want to sit there and say that you have control or dominion over it, you go on. Tell that to her.
She'll rear her ugly head and prove you're wrong.
And it's not. They say that in many indigenous traditions, nature has no mercy. When you're out of alignment with nature will correct that. And if it sees you of not being in alignment with it, being respectful and honor and integrated with those, aligned with the energies, she doesn't care. She's going to come out, going to take you out.
Yeah, but I mean, we see that with the virus now. I mean, look at how that's changed everything so quickly.
It has, and we've had, a good example I use is back in the Middle Ages with what they called the Black Plague.
Right.
And they said that they did a recent study that in societies and cultures where they have a big fear of a great evil, and they used the word witch in there, that in those cultures had the greatest levels of pandemics and viruses and deaths from that kind of a situation. And you look at the same thing with the Black. They had where they started the burnings of the religious powers of the time. They went and started the burnings, the Inquisition. They started getting rid of any earth-based wise woman, healer, so they call them witches. Most of them were just shaman ladies, wise ladies that were all earth-based. If you didn't convert, you got burned. You just had to be accused of being a witch. If someone didn't like you and you got burned. And because cats were considered familiars of them, they got rid of them too. And then the rats come in with the fleas, and then you had your plague. And so
this all goes back to the burning of the witches.
Yeah. So it's really, there's an ecosystem, and many species have disappeared. There's more and more species, and it's just imbalancing the overall ecosystem. This is the diversity of this planet is singular in the whole universe. There's no world like this one in the universe that has such a diversity of flora and fauna and everything. It really is an amazing, amazing place, and we need to take care of it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, as I went to the dump today, bringing back the cardboard and the plastic and everything separated, and the tin cans. And some states do it and some states don't.
Yeah, we're getting more and more people are becoming conscientious on recycling. There is the movement. Not everything is bad, but processed foods aren't good, but we're going more and more organic. We're learning how to grow things ourselves and without pesticides. There's many different ways where you don't need to use chemicals. And especially with non-GMO seeds, heritage seeds are the best way because the plants will always give you more seeds. Mm-hmm. Whereas the most seeds they have today for fruits and vegetables, etc., they don't reproduce the seeds. They're hybrids, and they can't. You got to go buy more seeds. Just like people grow corn in farmers, they're buying the genetically modified seeds. It won't. You can't create seeds.
Reproduce. Okay.
It won't reproduce.
But you see, that goes into the whole idea that you have to keep selling more and more and more and more and more to be profitable.
Exactly.
But there's a point where it's going to collapse.
Well, even on TV, they say it over and over. We're a consumer nation. And that's something that needs to change, where you have to have a balance of give and take. But the energies and manifestation, when you get in alignment with the earth and the planet, she's very abundant in how she can produce for us and give everything that we need. There's plenty of food, and it can be, but you've got the corrupt systems in place that are preventing that, and that's what's going to be leaving.
Okay. We'll come back and talk more about that after we take this break.
Have Have you ever felt like no one is listening, or you're not getting the honest attention you deserve? Do you even know the kind of attention you want or need? You are not alone. Alice Aspen March is here to help. Thanks to Alice, through her epiphany and research over the word attention, there are solutions to the attention dilemma. Worldwide audiences have been enthralled and engaged for over 40 years with her visionary and pioneering observations. The kind of attention we get and give is vital to improving our lives and society. Alice and her weekly guests review game-changing insights for transforming and improving our understanding of attention, providing techniques for creating healthier and empowering behavior. Get a new perspective on a mainstream word. Tune into Why Our Attention Matters for fresh and thought-provoking conversations every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on boldbravemedia.com and the TuneIn Radio app. Mike Zorick, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorak, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorak has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
We're back with Spiritual Support and Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network. And I'm here with Jacob Hartwick, and I wanted to say to you that we're out of balance. We're talking about all the systems and things being out of balance, but the first place to start is to balance yourself.
Perfect. That's exactly right on the money, what we need to do. And that's going inside and with your meditative practices, whatever you do, yoga, qigong, there's all kinds of different things to do that help you balance. Personally, I'm very much of an esoteric person where I don't necessarily meditate that well, but I can go into my states where I can get what I need, but I self-heal very well. I've got my little words and phrases, mantras I use, and you're able to release the energies of and it just gets, you can feel a release. It's just automatically balanced, and it's a beautiful thing. And there's out of balance with realizing that we're an energetic being. We can create, when you get really aligned, you're creating your auric field, but it's your own toroidal field, you're in your energy being that syncs with the toroidal field of Mother Earth and of the galaxy itself. Because when we got to understand something, people think of God in many different ways. I always like to look at source energy, the creative life force of the universe. You don't personify it. But there's one thing I mentioned that was validated. I said, when you look at the Milky Way galaxy, it's like a big chakra of a much greater being. And so we have to go beyond and be humble and all that. But if you're in the right alignment, there is endless abundance of energy, and that plasma energy in the whole field is coming in now and really growing tremendously. We can see this is an amazing time to be here, even when it looks a little rough outside. You just really need to get yourself centered. And it's not that I keep telling everybody, I said, yeah, you can go up and ask the angels. And I said, really right now, the best thing you do, because it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I said, connect with your inner divine feminine, Mother Earth and the Divine Mother, because those feminine energies are the best healing energies.
Yes.
And they are very protective. You can feel the embrace of those energies. And they are really, really the best way to go. That's what I personally see. And it's worked great for me. I've been working with the divine feminine, and even as a masculine, sometimes I can feel the masculine side say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Hey, it's her turn now."
Yeah, but we all have a little bit of feminine and masculine in us all.
We certainly do. And the best way to look at it is not so much gender-based, is more that it's the right brain is considered the feminine side, the creative side. The masculine, when you say about it, is the mental or the very analytical, logical. They are power structures. They build the outside world, but they become separated from the divine feminine aspect, and it's been this way for a long time. We have a very patriarchal world. And obviously, when you look at history and patterns,
right,
rise and fall of empires, nothing seems to last very well because they get into this competition, and it's about very self-centered, the here and now. We just got to make our money, and they don't think of the existential future of humanity as a whole. They're always looking at their corporation. It's a very self-centered structure.
Well, it's because certain people want power bases.
Yeah.
And so they build these power bases, and then they circumvent the way things really were supposed to be.
Well, they could start out with the best intentions, but every single one gets into where it maintains, its whole purpose is to maintain its power base. And especially when you get into a very stagnant consciousness where they say, well, this is the way things are. They don't want to change. They don't want to evolve. And what happens? They become rather corrupted. They become very controlling. They say, you got to do this to survive. And it's very authoritarian.
Well, no, I mean, I think back to Neil Postman and all the work I did with him, and he was arguing that in today's mediated world, we need to go back to print-based things and reading and writing, because we needed to be able to think clearly about making decisions. We couldn't just do snap decisions like they want to do with, let's put it, okay, this is the heated thing today. Let's do a poll on it and vote.
Right.
You don't want to do that. You want to be able to think about things and let them settle and make decisions.
Even from a governmental, everybody uses the word democracy. And I says, hey, hold on. I said, go back. It's called a republic for a reason. Because it intentionally built and structured that way so things would slow down and weren't based purely on emotions. Right. Because when you get into how power structures and systems, whether they're political parties, belief systems, left, right, whatever, they utilize computers, they utilize artificial intelligence to map people's responses through polling data, everything right away, and shaping the public opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And their emotions, and trying to steer you into buying what they're trying to sell you.
But that's the whole thing. I know in my research on marketing, the marketers work on very much an emotional level. Mm-hmm. There were some ads that were logical, but a lot of that's disappeared. Mm-hmm. They want to say that, oh, if you wear this perfume, you're going to attract men, mm-hmm. Or if you do this, you're going to, get that, or you should have a Mercedes to be a certain status symbol in life.
Magazines, movies always depict the beauty and the glamour and everything. And the problem is, if someone is not very, let's say, attractive in that sense, you have in youth, they get really separated, shunned. You create a lot of distorted. It's amazing when you're talking about how they shape public opinion, how they move us like a herd into buying this idea of what is good.
Well, I'm going to use a really good example, and it goes in with your divine feminine. It was when all those skinny models, who were anorexic, and they never showed a full-figured woman on television. So now at least we're starting to see people of all shapes, sizes, and ages in our advertising, which to me is always an indication of where the society is going. But we have another break, so we'll be back in a minute.
Mike Zorick, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorak, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorak has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network. Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
We're back live on Spiritual Support with Dr. Sue on the Bold Brave Media Network. And now I'm going to ask Jacob, let's kind of review what we've been talking about tonight.
I think the main thing is for people, when you're looking at the outside world and the chaos, the most important thing to understand that in many ways this is like a play or a movie. It's better to look at it this way, and you say, because I get a very deja vu feeling about a lot of this stuff, and just look at it for what it is. Say, I see you. Thank you for the lesson. It's a great lesson. I have a better understanding now. I'm not going to get angry and add conflict, and don't pick a side. Don't go join the struggle that we're going to carry placards out in the street and protests and stuff. People are doing that. They're serving their purpose. The more you can stand back, being aware of the problem. You don't always think and ignore it, because sometimes when you're aware of it, you're going to feel a little anger. Let it come through, feel it, but really in yourself, put it there, transmute it. But then look, I said, okay, I've learned a lesson. Now, a lot of people that are actually conducting things and trying to make you take a jab, that there's questions there or whatever. He says, don't get angry. And most of them are unwitting participants. They're having their strings pulled by forces and that have been controlling this system and this planet, old moneyed families that have been running the planet for a long time. Understand that. Don't get mad at anybody else, because anger just adds to the energy of anger.
Right.
We're trying to avoid that.
Yeah, so we're trying to be more positive. And the other thing I would say is the way to start this transition is to go within yourself and to feel within yourself and get yourself balanced, because when you get yourself balanced, you'll heal yourself.
You'll heal yourself, but you're also, the inner is going to help you expand. Your energy adds to that whole new earth energy of balance and a new world. And that's the way to go. You can do more within yourself without going and getting into the battle out there. Do more to yourself to help with this planetary ascension. We'll get through this quicker, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic that we're going to be coming into a new dawn. And what was it? The age of Aquarius.
Yeah, this has all been prophesized. Some people look at prophecy from a rather negative thing. I just look at it as we've got good change coming. I'm very much of a positive thinker, and I say we got good change coming, and we have a future for generations to come. That's important.
That's what's very, very important, is a future for not only ourselves, but for the next
generations, kids, grandkids, and on down the road.
On down the road, yes. And with that idea, we're just about come to the end of our time. So I will thank you very much, Jacob.
Thanks for
being with me tonight. And I know what next week's show is. Next week fits in with this. I'm going to be doing a show on natural law.
There you go.
Which is also what helps us get in sync with the earth.
Yes, very good.
The good vibrations here. So, yeah. And I'm thinking of that song, Good Vibrations. I can't sing it, but you know which one I mean.
That was the Love Generation.
Yeah, it was the Love Generation. And, yes.
It's coming again.
Good. We're coming back to love. And so think positively. And I would say blessings to everyone. It's going to be a bright future. So just keep that in mind, because the more you do, the brighter it will be. And I'm going to say good night.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.